to the next video. In today's video I will show you how to dockerize multiple services. So in this example, so this will be a two-part series. Like in the first part I will show you how to do it for your dev environment, and the production won't be that much different, but yeah, let's get started. So in this video I will show you how to dockerize a NextJS app as well as a node.js app. So my NextJS app is communicating with node.js app. Like I know now NextJS is a full stack framework. We really don't know, we really don't require node.js, but the purpose of this video is to learn Docker. That's why I have taken a front end as well as a back end, and there were some few interesting things which I stumbled upon, and honestly I don't understand the entire thing, but I will do let you know, guys, and what are the issues or challenges which I faced along the way. So firstly I will show you my node.js app. So I will show you the code. Basically what I am doing, if you see inside my package.json, I have taken bcrypt, express, json web token. Like I really don't require bcrypt and json web token, but I am using postgres and postgres htstore which require, and and I am using sequelize as well. So I will show you two examples. So yeah, you can add this as your dependency. Next, inside models, what I have done is I have just created this info .js file. So this will be one model for me. So I am creating an API which will give me a random number every time I try to hit it. So this will be the random number, and this is a primary key. Similarly for user.js also. So user.js you can ignore, I am not really using this. Okay, and inside util, if you see, I have taken this database.js and I have just sent so this is how you construct Postgres URL if you are using. So this pg user, pg password, pg host, pg port and pg database, they are environment variables. So if you so these environment variables will come from Docker. Okay, and if you see routes, so inside routes.js I have just taken an express server, and this is our info model, and I have created two routes. One is /API/value. This I will use inside my Next.js application, but I have also created another routes. If you want, you can use this as well. Like this was just part of my debugging, and I have purposefully added a set timeout because I wanted to do some other debugging as well. But right now we can just concentrate on this. Like once you hit this API endpoint, it just gives you a hello as the value inside a JSON. That's it. Okay, and if you see my index.js, not much. I have just, this is required so that our model can be built. Then I have taken express, sequelize, then the routes.js file, and I am creating our express app. And here this is for coarse handling, and here I was syncing the sequelize database so that it can automatically create table for us. And here I am using app.useRoutes, and this is again like error handling stuff. And here I am listening on port 3001 for our node.js app. Okay, and if you see our Next.js app, all I have done is inside src page.tsx, my main page.tsx. so this Next.js app is on port 3000. Okay, so the main page.tsx is using a use client, so it is a client rendered component. And if you see, I'm not passing localhost colon 3001, I'm just passing /API/value. And if you see inside the route.js as well, it is hosted on /API/value. so okay, I'm directly calling this can be directly applied, and I'm just rendering the value inside h1 tag. But if it is a server rendered component, if you are using app router, then this won't work. You can't directly call /API/value. I'm not sure why, but I will try to give you an explanation for this. So here so here you have to write this nginx part, and if you see over here, so someone has answered me, I didn't really understood it. So you can check this answer out. If you want, you can pause the video for now, but to be honest with you, I didn't really get it. and here I had to pass http:/nginx/api/value, then you will get the response, and that is been rendered inside a server component. So for server component you require the entire URL, but if it is a client component you can just pass /API/value. Now because we are using Docker, both Node.js and Next.js will be hosted on same port, that is 3050. so that would be the port number. Internally they are using 3000 port for Next.js and 3001 for Node.js, but once we use Docker they will be pointing to the same port. That's why we can directly use this for a client rendered component. I'm not sure why we can't use it, but here is another explanation which I got. So if you want you can pause the video and have a look at it. Again, I'm not really sure, but all it says that the fetch API in browser and in node environment is a little different. That's why we have to use absolute URL in Node.js environments. Now even this server rendered component in Next.js internally uses Node.js, so don't be confused by this Node.js, because we already have a Node.js backend as well. Okay, so I have created this Next.js app. Now first thing which and also I will be using Nginx for reverse proxy. I'm not so familiar with Nginx, and I really don't get the point of it, to be honest, but a lot of people say use it for reverse proxy. I'm not really sure what exactly you mean by reverse proxy, but I think it is useful for security purposes. So firstly what you will have to do inside node app, here you can see I have created dockerfile.dev. so same stuff as usual from node 18, and I'm using a working directory. I'm copying package.json, then I'm running npm install, and I'm also copying everything else and then running cmd npm run dev. Okay, you don't have to run this command because we will use docker compose. Next I have created a docker ignore, and I am ignoring node modules as well as package log.json. Similarly for next app as well I have done the same thing. So if you see I have created this dockerfile.dev, and here again I am using same thing, node 18 alpine. You don't have to write this as build because I was trying some other thing, like even the Node.js GitHub repo has an example of Docker, but I found that way too complicated. That's why I gave up on that. And here same thing, you inside the working directory copy package.json, then run npm install, then copy everything else, then cmd npm run dev. So this is for dev environment. Okay, and inside docker ignore I am just ignoring node modules and package log.json. Also I have created this because when I was trying to do that server mount, like when I was not trying to pass the absolute URL to our server rendered component, I thought this might be causing issue, but I'm not really sure. This doesn't really help. So this is like Nginx content, which we'll see whether this helps or not. Okay, just ignore this for now. Then you will have to create an Nginx as well. Inside that create a dockerfile.dev, and there is a default.config file present inside Nginx. We are overriding that file with our own default.config. That's why we have to write this. Okay, and if you see inside default.config, what we are doing, we are using an upstream. This is our name of the app, which I will show you inside YAML file. So use the same name, and server next app colon 3000. Similarly for node app as well. So this is defined in our docker compose file, so use the same name, and we will listen 80. I think I'm not really sure what this listen 80 is, and this front end will be hosted whenever you enter a slash. So suppose our app is hosted on localhost 3050. So if you haven't added anything, then just serve the next app, else serve the node app. And suppose if you are not writing this /API inside your routes, okay, but in the end you want the /API, okay, suppose I'm not writing it like this, then you will have to write something like this inside your where did it go, inside your dockerfile inside your default.config. So you will have to write something like this, but just to avoid more complications, I have written this /API/value over here itself, so we don't need to write this. I have commented out. And if it is /API, then we need to host our then we need to call our node app, and this is something related to WebSockets, but unfortunately that WebSocket issue is still there. If you see inside our console, when we run our Next.js app, this issue will still be present. Okay, so this is for nginx. So here I have created separate folder for it, and this is our docker compose file. So as usual, give a version, then services. So first is for Postgres service. I want the latest image for Postgres, and this we have to write because we have to add this in the recent version of Postgres. Then second is for nginx, so this one, and we always have to restart our nginx in case it fails. And here we have named the docker file as dockerfile.dev, so we can't write build colon dot. We have to specify our exact docker file name and where it is hosted. So it is in ./nginx folder, and here ports are 3050 to 80. So I think if you remember the 80 which we had written over here, default, so I think the default port is 80, but I want to map 80 to 3050 port whenever the user visits the website in a browser or something. Okay, again I'm not really sure, sorry about that. And this nginx depends on our node app as well as nextjs app. So if you see node app, I have given the same name which I had given it inside the default.conf. And here again we have to specify the path because our file name is dockerfile.dev and not just dockerfile. And here we have to specify volumes as well. We just have to write this because we are telling docker that don't try to overwrite this folder, but everything else you can just copy it inside app. Okay, and here is the environment variables which we are passing to our node.js app. So pg user, pg host, pg database, password and port. Similarly for next tab as well, again we have to specify the entire path and where it is located. Same thing over here as well, don't try to override this folder but copy everything else over here. And this is for WebSockets, but again like I told you, this isn't really working. Now if I try to save, and you have to run a docker desktop, and then what you can do is you can go to your directory where your project is located, and all you have to do is run docker compose up -- build. Okay, so I will just show you guys. Docker compose up is also fine, but -- build is added because in case you change any of the files, we are asking docker to build it again. Okay, so just to be extra careful in case sometimes there might be some caching issue, that's why we are running -- build again. Okay, so now my app is running. So here you can see this is the same console log which you get when you try to run nextjs locally. Now if I go to, suppose I go to the first page like localhost colon 3050, if I try to refresh it, so here you can see this is the hello value which we are getting from node.js app. So this is a client side rendered app, and this is like if you try to hit this endpoint, I'm getting some random number. So I just wanted to show it to you guys. And if you try to hit localhost colon 3050/aps/value, you get the hello keyword. And if you go to the second page of our nextjs app, so here you can see I have written /second. If I try to refresh, then I get this hello world, as the text. If you just write /api/value, you won't get it. So I will show you that as well. Okay, firstly I will try to delete this nginx. I'm not sure whether this is helpful or not. Okay, and I will try to close this. I don't think that is helpful. Okay, but I will try to close it. I will run docker compose up -- build. Let's see. I think it should work. Okay, it's ready. Yes, we'll just refresh this. Okay, my second page has rendered properly and my first page also has rendered properly. Now in my second page, if I write something like this, just /api/value, you will see that it throws an error to us. That's why we have to write the entire absolute URL for a server rendered component only, but client rendered component are safe. Okay, now first I will render our client component, and it works fine. Now if I go to my server rendered component, here you can see fail to parse URL. because it doesn't even know where exactly is the URL. I really didn't understood this, but if you want, these are the issues for it. But yeah, but if I make it again, nginx, if I run it again, if I now run this, it should work. So here you can see it works. Like this is the WebSocket issue which I was telling you, and ignore this for now. This is some other issue. I think it is because of the plugin which I have installed, like Firefox plugin which I have, that is somehow causing issue for our Next.js app, but you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.